Welcome, everyone, to the latest edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers. A lot to get to on today's podcast. The Cavs are moving on. What does the schedule look like as they play the Boston Celtics, the dreaded Boston Celtics, in round 2 of the Eastern Conference playoffs? Plus, the Guardians win their last 2 games of the weekend, but off the field, good news and bad news in terms of the roster. Plus, the Browns are just a few days away from rookie mini camp. What will we learn on the field or off the field about the Browns in the next week or so? That's all coming up on the latest edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers.
You're watching Adam the Bull on the BetRivers Network.
Folks, if you're not using the BetRivers app, I have no idea what you're doing. And right now is a great time to use the BetRivers app because we have NBA playoff parlay insurance for you. Check out the BetRivers app, and if you bet a parlay of 4 or more legs on an NBA playoff game each day, you get part of your stake back in bonus bets if you're exactly 1 leg short of hitting your parlay. So, for example, tonight, the Knicks are playing the Pacers, game 1 of that Eastern Conference semifinal. I think it's a final before, but of course it's Eastern Conference semifinal. And let's say that you decide to bet a 4-leg parlay in the game. In fact, here's some things you can bet on. I see I'm on the site right now. Pascal Siakam, points, rebounds, and assists over 28.5. Points and assists over 24.5, on and on. Jalen Brunson under 51.5 points, rebounds, assists. So let's say, and the Pacers plus 17.5 on the point spread. So let's say you put that all together, right? And you bet a 4-leg parlay. Well, if you fall 1 leg short, you could get a stake back in bonus bets. The insurance is valid on your first NBA parlay of the day. See the BetRivers app for more details and to see how much stake back you are eligible for. So check it out. BetRivers app is fantastic. Speaking of the BetRivers app, the Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 1, which is tomorrow night at 7 p.m., are an 11-point underdog to the Boston Celtics. We know the Celtics finished up the Heat in 5, where it took the Cavs 7. 24 hours ago, well, a little less than that, about 18 hours ago, the game ended, and we were all excited. Most of us were. I was excited that the Cavs won, but now it's time to look ahead. On yesterday's podcast, I did the breaking news reaction to the win, but now it's time to look ahead and the huge challenge the Cavs have in front of them. The Cavs are plus 440 on the money line at BetRivers. The over-under is 209 for this game, certainly higher than we saw for all the games against the Magic because Boston is a much better team and a much better offensive team. But I know there's a lot of people out there that think that the Cavs maybe match up better with the Celtics because the Celtics are not the physical presence in terms of height, in terms of rebounding and defense that the Magic are. But obviously the Celtics are a way, way, way better team offensively. And at the end of the regular season, really for all of the regular season, they look like the best team in the NBA. Now, we have seen in recent years that there's a little more unpredictability in the NBA playoffs. And part of that is guys don't go as hard as they used to in the regular season. We used to see when the great teams played the great teams in the regular season, those games were wars back in the day. And it's just not the case anymore in the NBA. It sometimes is, but it's not consistent. And so you sometimes don't have a great feel for a team and how good they are in the regular season. But the Celtics, coming off their Eastern Conference Finals loss last year to Miami, took the regular season very seriously. And they were pretty much unbeatable at home. If you look, although they did lose a game to the Heat in the first round at home, but including the first round of the playoffs, in which they took 4 out of 5 against the Heat. The Celtics are 39-5 in their building this year, which means they've won. That's about an 87% winning percentage. Oh, and by the way, they're including the playoffs 29-14 at home. That's 68% winning on the road. I'm sorry, 29-14 on the road. If you look at the Celtics road record, including the playoffs, their winning percentage on the road only was better than the total winning percentage for every team in the NBA except for Oklahoma City, Denver, and Minnesota. Think about that. Think about that for a second. I mean, it's really crazy. That the Celtics on the road, their road record alone, 4th best winning percentage in the NBA, compared to every other team's total record, which is remarkable. They were the best offensive team in the league, one of the most efficient teams, best offensive team second best offensive team in terms of points scored. The Pacers actually scored more points per game than the Celtics, 123. The Celtics scored 121 per game. Big difference there, as though Indiana also gave up 120 points per game, whereas the Celtics only gave up 109. And in this day and age, 109 is good. The teams that gave up less points per game this season during the regular season, the Knicks, the Magic, and the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that's it. So they were 2nd in points per game. They were 4th in opponent points per game. It's a really good, deep team. They're more rested. They have home court advantage. They have Jaylen Brown, who's sensational. Jason Tatum, who's sensational. And, in fact, Brown, Tatum, and Derek White all averaged between 21.8 and 22.8 points per game. Porzingis got hurt in that series against Miami. He missed the last game of that series. And according to our old buddy Chris Haynes from Turner Sports, Porzingis, who's been often injured since back in his days with the Knicks, has the calf injury and will probably miss the entire series. So certainly that's a loss for Boston. He was their 4th leading scorer in the first round of the playoffs, and he was their 3rd leading scorer behind Tatum and Brown in the regular season. So obviously Derek White's being asked to do more. He had a good series against Miami. So it's a totally different series. Obviously, the Celtics are a way better team, but it's they already are not as big a team, not close to as big a team as Orlando, but their biggest guy in terms of height and size is out with Porzingis, who again is not expected to play. So when you looked at Orlando, most of their best players were big guys. When you look at Boston, it's not the case. Jason Tatum's 6'8". I mean, it's not like he's tiny. And Jaylen Brown is, 6'7", 6'6"? But their best players, their best scorers are not huge guys. They're 6'8", 6'6", and 6'4" with Derek White, with Porzingis out. So it's a different series. But obviously they can shoot the ball way better. But I mean, it's night and day between them and the Orlando Magic. You're talking about big-time shooters from 3, from the field, period. Derek White, in fact, shot 40% from 3 for the season, which is pretty impressive. They're good at moving the ball. They're going to have better ball handlers than Orlando did. But the thing about this now is the Cavs are playing with no pressure. There was a lot of pressure on them in this first-round series. Nobody expects the Cavs to win. If you look at, I'll go back to the BetRivers app. In fact, we got another cool deal for you here at BetRivers. NBA playoffs first basket bet and get. If you think you know who's going to set the tone for the game, whether it's, again, tonight with the Knicks and the Pacers, or the Timberwolves Nuggets tonight, or if it's Cavs-Celtics tomorrow, or the the Mavericks and the Thunder tomorrow. If you think you know who's going to set the tone, make that bet at BetRivers. And you'll pick up an extra bonus with the first bucket bet and get. Place a wager on who will make the first basket of any of these NBA playoff games. Got to bet on who's going to score the first basket. So maybe you like Donovan Mitchell in the Cavs. Maybe you like Tatum. Maybe you like Brown. Maybe it's somebody off the board. I don't know. Maybe it's hopefully Jared Allen if he's going to play. We don't know yet, but I'm a little nervous about it. Whoever it is, when you do, BetRivers will give you a profit boost to use on another bet. See the BetRivers app for full details on the first bucket, bet and get. So there you go. But if you look at the odds, I mentioned that the Celtics are an 11-point favorite. The Celtics are plus 100 to win the NBA title, but to win the conference, they're minus 305. The Cavs are plus 2,000, a significantly bigger underdog than Indiana. The Celtics are a massive, massive favorite to win this series and eventually win the Eastern Conference. But nobody thinks the Cavs are going to win this series. And so, unlike the first series where the Cavs were favored and everybody thought they should win, in this series, I can't imagine there's any. I wonder if there'll be a single NBA analyst that'll pick the Cavs to win this series. I highly doubt it. So they are playing with house money here. Now, maybe we don't feel that way. I mean, I'm not going to kill the Cavs if they lose this series. If they get embarrassed and humiliated, get swept and get blown out every game, that's bad. But honestly, if they played a hard-fought series and lost in 5, or certainly if they lost in 6 or 7, I'd give them credit for that. Because the Celtics, again, they're the best team in the league. And nobody's expecting the Cavs to win. And you wonder, can they play with that pressure off? Again, I'd like to know if I hope that Jared Allen could get back, especially with Porzingis out. Could be a big advantage for the Cavs in the paint. We know that their offense has been better with the 1 in, 4 out, but you'd like Jared Allen to be part of that at times. You know, Evan Mobley, we know what he does defensively. He hasn't done much offensively in these last couple of games, but it would be big to have him back. But again, everybody's expecting the Cavs to come home down 2-0. If they could somehow come home and win one of those games in Boston, and it's nothing points to the Cavs winning a game in Boston. Nothing. Boston was the best team in the regular season. They've lost 5 games total at home between the regular season and the postseason. The Cavs have since JB Bickerstaff has been the coach of the team, they have never won a road playoff game. They are 0-5 on the road between the Knicks last year and the Magic this year. They have been an absolutely dreadful road team. Now, they were better this year in the regular season. Remember, 2 years ago, they were awful in the regular season. Or I should say last season, they were awful in the regular season on the road. This year, they were much better. They finished 22-19 on the road. However, they struggled down the stretch, and we know they lost all 3 road games to Orlando. So the Cavs are going to be a significant underdog in both these road games. There's really nothing I can point to that leads you to believe the Cavs will win a road game. But in the end, you got to play these games on the court. And maybe the Cavs can build off what they did in Game 7. They did play well in Game 6 in Orlando, and they played great for the back 28, 29 minutes against Orlando yesterday at home. Maybe they can build off that momentum. Donovan Mitchell absolutely lights out. He's been great these last 2 games, and you know, they're missing Porzingis. I think it's going to be very hard for the Cavs to win Game 1, but maybe they pull a stunning upset in Game 2. And if that happens, then you go home and you never know. You never know. You only to have a chance, and certainly Boston's capable of winning in Cleveland. But you got to get one in Boston. If you can get one in Boston, then the Cavs can legitimately have a chance to pull what would be a beyond stunning upset. And I'm here for it. I hope it happens. I think we all hope it happens. All right, I want to talk about the Browns for a second. The Browns will open their first offseason camp coming up this weekend. Browns rookie mini camp is Friday, I believe. So let's see, the 8th. Yeah, Friday. Cavs will have a rookie mini camp Friday through Sunday. So we'll get our first look at the Browns draft picks, including Michael Hall Jr., their first pick in this draft, who they get out of Ohio State. Zach Zinter, the offensive lineman from Michigan. And then the rest of the group, Jamari Thrash, Nathaniel Watson, Miles Harden, and Jawan Briggs. But listen, for a rookie minicamp, you certainly don't get much out of a rookie minicamp. It can't tell you all that much, but it'll be good to see the guys on the field a little bit and get our first glimpse of the 6 drafted rookies and the undrafted rookies in their Browns gear. The first OTAs will be in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from tomorrow, the Browns will have their first OTAs. They did a mini camp already, and where it was really just working out and stuff. And Deshaun Watson was there. No Myles Garrett, no Nick Chubb. But we'll see where those guys are at. May 21st to 23rd, the 28th to the 30th, and then June 3rd through 6th. So in the next 4.5 weeks, we'll see a rookie mini camp, and then we'll see 3 different OTA sessions. 3 days, the 3-day rookie mini camp, 3 days in the first 2 OTA sessions, and then the last one is a 4-day thing there, June 3rd through the 6th. All right. Real quick on the Guardians, because we had the Guardian show today. Check that out as well, the Ultimate Cleveland Guardian show. Nice job bouncing back on the weekend, getting the last 2. Carrasco and Lively pitched well on Sunday and Saturday, respectively. They needed it off of 2 blowout losses on Thursday against the Astros and Friday against the Angels. You got terrible news on Steven Kwan, obviously. He's got the hamstring injury, goes on the injured list. I would think he's going to miss a month, and this is just a brutal loss for the Guardians because he and Naylor have been their 2 best players. He's on base is I think 7th in the league, one of only 11 players getting on base at a 40% or better clip. It's a devastating loss. The only good news is that Kyle Manzardo gets called up. Now, absurd that the Guardians waited until Kwan got hurt to call him up. Nevertheless, he's up, so hopefully he can help the middle of the lineup. He's not going to help the leadoff spot. I mentioned on the Guardian show, and I'll mention it here again, I'd like to see when he's in the lineup, David Fry being in the 1 or 2 spot. I got no problem. David Fry's not a traditional leadoff hitter, but he gets on base. He's gotten on base nearly half the times he's been to the plate. He walks. He gets hits. He's not a big-time power hitter, so I don't need him in the middle of the lineup. But he could be a table setter, even though he's not a traditional leadoff guy as a catcher. But he runs decently for a catcher. He can play other positions, and I wonder if Stephen Vogt will give that a shot as a guy himself who played catcher and also played some other positions. We'll see. But the Kwan loss is bad. There's no way to sugarcoat it. It's a bad loss, and we'll see how it affects the team. They are still 7th in runs scored per game. I wonder how much that'll take a hit over the next few weeks. And hopefully you can get Kwan back sooner than later, but those hamstring injuries can be very tricky. And so you got to be careful. You don't want to rush a guy back. The Guardians are tied for 13th in home runs per game, averaging 1.03. And last year they were dead last in home runs per game, as you remember. And I said this year they had to be middle of the pack, and I didn't think they would be, but so far they have been a little better than middle of the pack, tied with the Mets for 13th. And really just minuscule percentage points away from being as high as 12, whereas Minnesota they're right in that. They're basically tied, but 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th. Minnesota, Mets, Guardians, and Cubs are all like 1 home run away from each other. So they're pretty close in that middle of the pack, and that's where we needed the Guardians to be. They're really only significantly behind 7 teams: Baltimore, the Dodgers, Oakland, Philly, Yankees, Milwaukee, and Houston. Baltimore's averaging 1.6 home runs per game. The Dodgers are second at 1.3. That's how good that is. The Cardinals and White Sox dead last at 0.68. If you look at the division, the White Sox 0.68, Detroit 0.85. Kansas City's averaging 1 home run a game. Guardians 1.03 and Minnesota 1.03, but it's like 1.03. 1.034 to 1.032. It's, 100th column. Anyway, there you go. All right, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks to everybody for joining me as always. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button. Give the thumbs up if you will. I appreciate that. Thanks to Brian Monzo as always for producing. I'll be on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show every day this week except for Monday today, Tuesday through Friday. I will have a live podcast following Game 1, Cavs-Celtics, tomorrow night, Tuesday night after Game 1. I'll have a podcast for you Wednesday also, the live podcast Thursday at 2, another live podcast Thursday night after Game 2 of Cavs-Celtics. And then I'll be on after Game 3 Saturday here in Cleveland. I think it's an 8:30 start Saturday night, so a late night live podcast. So a lot of me this week if you want it, and I appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time. Where else but right here in the Bullpen with Adam the Bull, brought to you by BetRivers. See you, everybody.